All right. Sorry. Hello, everybody. Hope you guys are all having a great night. My name is Adrian Carmona from the Varsity Sports Show, and I am once again excited to be joining you on hosting this week's episode of Varsity National Live. Big week for high school football everywhere as we have hit the last 2 weeks of regular season football for high school. Um, Very big week as a lot of these games are now coming down to the wire with a lot of postseason implications and a lot of playoff implications as we hit this final home stretch of regular season play. A lot of good stuff for us tonight. Getting some high school football highlights from Houston, Philly, and Florida. Big things going on from around the country, especially East Coast, Central area. So we're actually going to kick off tonight with one of our guests, Matthew, who's going to be giving us a summary of some Houston games. So, Matthew, how's it going?
How you doing? So we're just, as you see here, we're gathering all our stuff. So it was another blowout. Fulshire High School had another dominant game. They improved to 10-0, whereas Osage High School will go down 1-8. They lose their last home game of the season. By the way, this is their senior night here tonight, and Fulshire obviously tried to party. So during the first half, it was a really close game. Fulshire has scored the opening drive, and Zane Smith, who was the player of the game, he will score it on his first touchdown in the first quarter, and then Elsik will score the touchdown for it was another receiving touchdown, actually their first receiving touchdown, excuse me, and they'll kick a field goal to make it a 3-point game. And then after going to the second half, Fulcher has scored 33 unanswered points and is coming from Zane Smith. Like I said, who was the player of the game. He had two more rushing touchdowns, and Anthony Okeke had another touchdown. Had one touchdown here tonight. So Fulshire, they look really for real this year. They're first in their district. They're the 40th best team in the state of Texas, and it's looking like they're going to make noise come playoff time.
Yeah, absolutely. And how does the rest of the Houston High School playoff picture look right now for that district?
So I'm not really too sure. Fulshire right now, all I know is Fulshire is number one in their district. So they're currently undefeated district rise, and they're looking like they're the first seed. I'm not too sure about the other teams ranked right below them. So we're looking to see a competitive playoff picture here in Houston.
Yep, absolutely. Playoffs trying to heat up. Well, thank you, Matthew, for another great segment of yours. Hope you have a good night.
All right, you too.
All right, so that was Matthew from Houston giving us the post game report and a little bit of a playoff preview for Houston high school football. Um, we're actually going to transition now to my segment of what's going on in the state of Florida. A lot of big matchups coming up, but we did have a lot of teams on the bye, especially a lot of these top ranked teams. Like I know Chaminade, Madonna, who's first in their districts in the rankings, they were off this week. Other teams like Columbus were off. Seminole were off. A lot of teams on bye as we prepare for these last few weeks of regular season football. Actually, the rankings for each district in a lot of districts in Florida starting to heat up with this playoff race. Actually, the rankings for a lot of these districts are coming out. In fact, Venice, Armwood, Lakeland, Miami Central, and Chaminade were all unanimous selections as the number one team in their respective districts. So these teams have just been absolutely tearing it up. so far this season as they look to make some noise come playoff time. So a limited amount of games this week, but we did have one very interesting game that I did want to talk about between two nationally ranked teams. IMG, who's ranked number 5, they traveled over to St. Francis Academy, who is ranked number 17, and St. Francis got an absolutely dominant win, 30-3 over number 5 IMG. Absolute shocker, in my opinion. I thought this would be a more competitive game between these two powerhouses of their respective districts and respective states. But St. Francis just came into this game and just lit up IMG. One of the most dominating performances against IMG that I have ever seen in my lifetime. Really, for IMG, what I could really take from it is just turnovers. So many costly turnovers for them really just put them in a hole, and they never really could recover from it. St. Francis just put on an absolute masterclass of a defensive performance. And IMG, these turnovers came in really just bad spots in the red zone as they're driving. They had some momentum on these drives, but they were all just killed with a turnover. They got a turnover on downs early. IMG had a fumble in the red zone that was returned for a touchdown and a pick six. So St. Francis was not only getting turnovers, but they were scoring right there on the turnovers. And that really just put IMG in a hole. 4 or 5 just total takeaways from St. Francis tonight. And it was absolutely, just insane what they were able to do. Jaden Ways, the quarterback for Francis Academy, I mean, he was very efficient, didn't have to do much. In terms of carrying the offense, because really it was the running game that put them over the top. Ways and Jayon Williams, they led the rushing attack, just absolutely torching those IMG linebackers in that front seven. Really, just all momentum throughout the game. You could see it there. But yeah, tough loss for IMG. It was only their second loss of the season. IMG lost their first game to Corner Canyon in an upset when they choked a 21-point lead. IMG had then won the next 6 games, and then now they travel to St. Francis and get blown out. Really, it was just a shocker for me. Honestly, as we get closer to these playoff matchups and these playoff implications, just absolutely ridiculous what we saw. I'm honestly just flabbergasted. Actually, sorry, it was IMG's third loss of the season. They were ranked number 5, but yeah, it was. I mean, IMG really in this situation. I don't know how much you can really take away other than that the turnovers just killed them. Darion Smith, actually, Tennessee commit, he's the one that got the fumble recovery for a touchdown. They gave them a 24-3 lead in the fourth quarter. IMG just could not come back for it. And St. Francis actually moves up to 3-2 in the all-time series between these two schools. So they were actually tied. They had played each other. This is now their 5th meeting against them in total. And yeah, it was just, sorry, an absolute stellar performance from St. Francis. And yeah, as we get to another guest coming up soon, want to remind you guys that later tonight we will have the Varsity Live postgame show once again, where we'll be highlighting the games that we previewed in the pregame show. Actually, a lot of interesting games going on there. Saguaro is facing off after they lost last week. 7-1 Mountain View against Cesar Chavez. Horizon 7-1 against Cactus Shadows, and Brophy 7-1 against Mountain Point. So if you join us later tonight, you'll be getting the recaps and the summaries of all those games going on. But yeah, a lot of teams in Florida. A lot of teams in Florida on bye this week as we get closer to playoff football in high school. I believe we are in now the last 2 weeks of the regular season, so all of these matchups are huge. especially for these teams that are competing for playoff spots, and those teams are just trying to get that top seed in the respective districts. Another score just off the top of my head: Buchholz over here in Gainesville, where I am now. Actually, they won their game today. Yeah, it was just a lot on in Florida. And other sports going on too right now. NBA in its early season points. Yeah, a lot of good sports going on. College football still going on high. We have Florida, Georgia tomorrow at 3:30. That's going to be a big game. A lot of people actually think that the Florida Gators can pull off an upset against the Georgia Bulldogs, who really have had Florida's number for the last few years now with their dominance in the SEC and in college football in general. But Florida has been playing good football as of recently, starting with the Tennessee game. Although they lost, they looked very good, especially with DJ Lagway at the helm. It has just opened up this offense. Oh, sorry, got a little stuck there. But yeah, Florida's been playing very good football, especially with DJ Lagway at the helm. The true freshman has just opened up this offense much more than Graham Mertz, although Graham Mertz was playing very well before his injury, still wishing for his recovery. But DJ Lagway's, he just has a bigger arm. He's able to use his legs more, and it really just has opened up this offense to a T. Elijah Badger is leading the nation right now in yards per catch, mostly thanks to DJ Lagway. He's really just pure deep ball threat, and DJ Lagway just somehow not somehow, we know his talent, but he has been finding him open deep every game since then. They also blew out Kentucky. Absolute dominance. Kentucky has had won the last, I believe, 3 matchups against the Gators, but Florida came back with a vengeance and beat them there. Also, Ohio State, Penn State this weekend. That is going to be a very, very good game. Top 10 to actually top 5 teams in the nation. Ohio State at number 4 and Penn State at number 3. This will be at Penn State, so that crowd will be rumbling that night. Or sorry, it's actually during the day, 12 p.m. game. Don't understand why they made it a 12 p.m. game. That would have been a killer night game for a whiteout too. But yeah, college football is going to be rocking this weekend. A lot of great matchups. But yeah, if you're just joining us now, my name is Adrian Carmona with another edition of the Varsity National Live Postgame show. We got a postgame report from Matthew from Houston, talking about some Houston high school football. And of course, Florida football heating up. A lot of teams on bye this week, getting a break before that last week of high school regular season football next week. I'm very excited, honestly, for these playoffs that are about to happen in Florida. A lot of upsets and a lot of teams going at it this season. I really don't know if there's a true, number one team in any of these districts. I think it's been there's been a lot of parity this year with these top teams. I highlighted this earlier, but IMG, number 5 in the nation, because IMG is one of the most prestigious schools in Florida. They lost to number 17 ranked St. Francis. I explained it earlier, but it was just absolutely shocking when I realized what the final score was. I thought I was, reading something. I thought I was reading something else when I heard that. But yeah, they just completely dominated IMG. Story of the game for IMG. The turnovers, fumble return for a touchdown when they were in the end zone. Absolutely heartbreaking and backbreaking turnover. They just cannot happen at that stage of the game. Return for a touchdown. They also had a pick 6. And IMG was just really held in check. That should serve as a wake-up call for them as they reach the playoffs. But we will see what happens with them. Northwestern this week also just completely blew out St. Brendan, 57-7. Nothing new for Northwestern. they've won. Northwestern looks scary too. They've won 5 games this season by at least 35 points, which is absolutely ridiculous. I mean, they're taking care of business, and when they do, they are doing that and much more. So we'll see how Northwestern fares coming this playoffs. I'm also very interested to see how Chaminade does. They're on bye this week, but they have had some very impressive wins. Same with Central, and same with American Heritage. American Heritage has actually had a very tough schedule, so seeing them go through that has been very impressive as well. But yeah, I think this is personal prediction here. I think this is going to be one of the best years for Florida high school football playoffs that we've ever seen. Very excited to see how these districts shake up and how the seeding goes. But yeah, it'll be very interesting to see what happens. So with that, that is all for this edition of Varsity National Live. I want to tell you guys to tune in for the Varsity Live postgame show, where we'll be talking about all the games going on in Arizona. And I will remind you guys once again to follow all of our social media on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram at Varsity Live. My name is Adrian Carmona, signing off, and I hope you guys all have a great night.